The night she whispered her wish between the library shelves, she didn't expect the lights to flicker or an immortal king to step out of the shadows. One fake boyfriend, one harmless lie, but some bargains don't end at dawn, and some smiles mean forever. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining. Take a moment to say hello in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. We're glad you're here. Rain pressed against the tall windows of the Willow Creek Public Library like impatient fingers, the kind of Oregon drizzle that never fully committed to a storm. Lily Carter stood alone between the folklore and local history shelves, her phone glowing in her palm as another message buzzed in. Cousin Rebecca's engagement gala. Seattle. Black tie optional but judgment mandatory. Lily could already hear the questions, feel the sideways glances, see her ex smiling like he'd won something simply by moving on faster than she had. She swallowed and slid the phone into her cardigan pocket, telling herself she didn't care. She did. The lie tasted bitter. She had lived her whole life being unremarkable on purpose. Quiet job, quiet town, quiet heart. The library was her sanctuary because books never asked why she was still single or suggested blind dates with men who smelled like engine oil and entitlement. Tonight, though, even the library felt too small for the humiliation creeping up her spine. She exhaled, resting her forehead against a shelf labeled Restricted Archives, a sign most patrons ignored because no one ever enforced it. "I just need a fake boyfriend for one night," she whispered, half laughing at herself. "Tall will be nice, charming, convincing, just for one night." The lights flickered. Lily straightened, pulse skidding. Old buildings did that, she told herself. Bad wiring. She turned to leave, and the air cooled, the scent changing to something darker, like rain on stone and old cedar. A shadow detached itself from the end of the aisle, resolving into a man who did not belong to Willow Creek in any century she knew. He was tall, yes, devastatingly so, dressed in a charcoal suit that looked tailored by someone who understood power. His skin was pale without being sickly, his hair dark and neatly swept back. When he smiled, it was slow and deliberate, as if he had all the time in the world and intended to enjoy it. "Careful what you wish for," he said, voice smooth as poured wine. Lily's breath hitched. Every sensible instinct screamed at her to run, but fascination rooted her feet. "Who are you?" she managed. "Adrian," he replied, eyes glinting a deep, unsettling red before settling into something almost human. "And you summoned me." "That's impossible," she said, though the word felt flimsy in her mouth. She had cataloged enough myths to recognize the weight in the air, the way her heart beat faster, not from fear alone, but recognition. The forbidden journals in the basement. The Pacific Covenant. Kings who ruled from the margins of maps. "I need a fake boyfriend," she blurted, mortified all over again, because apparently dignity had abandoned ship. "For one night." "I didn't mean this." Adrian's smirk deepened. "I'll do it." She laughed, sharp and breathless. "You don't even know my name." "I know," he said, stepping closer, the lights brightening as if to accommodate him. "Lily Carter. Librarian. Kind to a fault. Afraid of being seen as small." That landed too close. "You don't get to say that." Yet he agreed. "But your problem is simple. Mine is boredom." He glanced around the stacks. And an opportunity. Somewhere behind them, a door creaked. Lily imagined the smug curve of her ex's mouth, the way he'd dismiss her as predictable. She squared her shoulders. "One night," she said. "No more. Vampire law forbids emotional entanglements," Adrian replied lightly. "I'm excellent at rules." She should have said no. Instead, she nodded. Seattle glittered the next evening like a promise it had no intention of keeping. Adrian arrived at her rented apartment precisely on time, holding a single white rose. When he offered his arm, Lily took it, heart racing. In the hotel ballroom, the music swelled and eyes turned. Her ex, Jameson Hale, spotted them and frowned. Jameson had always believed the world owed him admiration. He crossed the floor, smile sharp. "Lily," he said, gaze flicking to Adrian with open disdain. "Didn't expect to see you upgraded." Adrian's hand settled at the small of Lily's back, warm and steady. "Jameson," he said pleasantly. If you believe people should be treated fairly, stand with us. Only bullies side with men who talk down to others. His eyes hardened a fraction. Lily deserves respect. Jameson scoffed, retreating under murmurs. Lily looked up at Adrian, stunned. You didn't have to. I did, he said softly. Touching, remember? The night blurred into laughter and light. Adrian danced like he had memorized joy. When Lily laughed, something in his chest cracked open, unfamiliar and dangerous. At midnight, on the balcony overlooking the city, he faced her. This ends at dawn, he said. She nodded, even as her heart argued. I know, but when dawn came, neither of them wanted to let go. Morning arrived quietly, as if Seattle itself were holding its breath. Pale light slipped through the hotel curtains, touching the edge of the bed where Lily lay awake, staring at the ceiling and listening to the steady rhythm of a heart that did not belong to her. Adrian sat in the armchair near the window, perfectly still, hands folded, gaze fixed on the city below as though dawn were an old rival he refused to acknowledge. Neither of them spoke. The night before lingered between them. Every laugh, every brush of fingers, the way his hand had fit against her back as if it had always known the shape of her. It had been fake. It was supposed to be fake. Yet the memory of his voice murmuring her name in a crowded ballroom made her chest ache in a way pretending shouldn't. You don't sleep? Lily said finally, her voice soft. I don't need to, Adrian replied without turning. Old habits fade slowly. She sat up, pulling the sheet around her. You watched the sunrise? I watched you breathe, he said, then paused, as if surprised by himself. He turned at last, and something in his expression had changed. The amused confidence was still there, but beneath it lay caution, restraint drawn tight as wire. We should end this. Her stomach dropped, even though she had known it was coming. Right, of course. He stood, every movement graceful, controlled. The agreement was one night. You were convincing. Exceptionally so. That's your way of saying thank you? She asked, attempting a smile. It's my way of staying alive, he said quietly, and keeping you safe. She swung her legs over the side of the bed, grounding herself in the ordinary chill of the carpet. From what? From me, he answered too honestly. They returned to Willow Creek that afternoon. The town greeted them with damp sidewalks and familiar storefronts, the comfort of smallness after the overwhelming sprawl of the city. Adrian walked beside her down Main Street, hands in his pockets, appearing to anyone watching like a visiting businessman indulging a quaint detour. Lily felt the strangeness of him there, too sharp, too luminous for a place that closed by 8 and thrived on routine. Inside the library, the air wrapped around her like an old sweater. Adrian paused just inside the door, eyes scanning the stacks with something like reverence. This is where you called me, he said. I didn't mean to, she replied. I was desperate. Desperation is a powerful summoning, he said. It opens doors people don't realize exist. She led him to the back, to the restricted archives. Dust motes danced in the filtered light. You're in these books, she said, or versions of you. He smiled faintly. History is kinder when it becomes myth. They spent the afternoon talking, really talking, about Willow Creek and its stubborn charm, about the Pacific Covenant and the rules that bound Adrian tighter than any chain, about loneliness that stretched across centuries and the peculiar ache of being seen for the first time by someone who owed him nothing. You don't belong to my world, Lily said at one point, fingers tracing the edge of a desk. And I don't belong to yours. No, he agreed. But there is a place between. The days that followed blurred into a dangerous normal. Adrian stayed nearby, always careful, always distant enough to pretend there was space between them. He helped her reshelve books, listened as she spoke about stories she loved, walked her home beneath gray skies that made his pale skin glow. Each laugh she gave him loosened something ancient inside his chest. Jameson returned like a bad memory, given flesh. He showed up at the library one afternoon, leaning against a shelf as if he owned the place. So, he said, eyes narrowing. The mystery man wasn't a rental after all. Lily stiffened. You don't get a comment on my life. Adrian stepped forward, presence sharp. You've already had your say, he told Jameson calmly. And your chance. Jameson sneered. People like you don't stick around. She'll see. After he left, Lily's hands trembled. Adrian caught them gently. He thrives on doubt, he said. Don't give it oxygen. She looked up at him, emotion flooding her eyes. What if he's right? Adrian hesitated, the truth heavy on his tongue. Then I will still choose to stand here, he said, until choosing becomes impossible. That night, alone in her apartment, Lily stared at her reflection and admitted what she had been avoiding. The fake boyfriend was gone. What remained was real, fragile, and terrifying. Across town, Adrian stood on a rooftop, city lights shimmering below. The Covenant would not tolerate this weakness. He felt the pull of duty like a tide. Yet when he closed his eyes, all he saw was Lily's smile. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Vampire King feared the dawn. Not because it could end him, but because it might take her away. The first sign that something was wrong came with the silence. Adrian noticed it before Lily did. Willow Creek had its own quiet language. The hum of the old refrigerator in the corner store, the distant bark of Mrs. Holloway's dog, the nightly whistle of the freight train cutting through the woods. That evening, as Adrian walked Lily home from the library, the town felt muffled, as if wrapped in cotton. Do you hear that? He asked. Lily tilted her head, listening. Hear what? Exactly. They stopped beneath a flickering street lamp. Adrian's posture shifted subtly, every muscle alert. His eyes darkened, the red beneath the surface no longer bothering to hide. What is it? Lily asked, nerves sparking. Not what, he corrected. Who? A presence brushed against his senses, cold, sharp, familiar in the way old scars were familiar. Covenant energy, but twisted, unauthorized, dangerous. You need to go inside, he said gently, taking her shoulders. Lock the door. Don't invite anyone in. Not even me, unless I say your name exactly, as I always do. Her heart thudded. Adrian, please, he said, and that single word carried a weight she had never heard from him before. She nodded, backing toward her apartment door. Be careful. He waited until the lock clicked before vanishing into the shadows, moving faster than human eyes could follow. The intruder revealed himself on the edge of town, near the tree line where the forest swallowed the road. He leaned casually against a trunk, silver rings catching moonlight, a smile sharp with familiarity. You're slipping, the man said, playing house in a human town. The Covenant is talking. Adrian's jaw tightened. You were sent to observe, not provoke. I was sent to confirm rumors, the man replied. And now I have. His gaze flicked toward the glow of Willow Creek. She's lovely, fragile, temporary. Leave, Adrian said, voice low with warning. Or what? You'll kill me? The man laughed. You can't. Not without exposing yourself. Not without proving you've broken the law. The law. Adrian felt it like a blade at his spine. Vampire law did not bend. Kings who broke it fell harder than any other. Enjoy your night, the intruder said lightly. It may be your last, pretending you're still untouchable. He vanished, leaving the forest colder than before. Adrian returned to Lily's building hours later, standing across the street, forcing himself not to cross the threshold. He watched her window, the soft light inside, the shadow of her moving about her small kitchen. Desire warred with restraint. Protection demanded distance. Love, an emotion he had never allowed himself to name, demanded everything. Inside, Lily tried to focus on mundane things. Tea, dishes, a novel she had already read twice. But unease clung to her skin. She felt watched, not in the comforting way she had grown used to with Adrian nearby, but in something sharper, more invasive. A knock sounded. She froze. Her mind replayed Adrian's instructions. Don't invite anyone in, not even me, unless I say your name exactly as I always do. Another knock. Firmer. Lily, a voice called. It's me. Her breath caught. It sounded like Adrian. Perfectly like him. What do you want? She asked, staying behind the door. To come in, the voice said smoothly. You don't have to be afraid. Her hand trembled on the lock. Say my name, she said, the way you always do. Silence stretched. Then the voice tried again, slightly annoyed. Lily Carter. Her stomach dropped. Adrian always said her name softly, like it mattered, like it was something precious. She stepped back. Go away. The air outside shifted, irritated. You're making this difficult. A blur of movement, then a crash as Adrian appeared, slamming the intruder against the wall with bone-rattling force. The illusion shattered, revealing the stranger's true face, eyes glowing with malice. You crossed a line, Adrian growled. So did you, the intruder snapped back. She's already a liability. Lily watched through the peephole, heart hammering as shadows clashed, power cracking the air like thunder. In seconds, it was over. The intruder fled, wounded pride and all. Adrian stood alone in the street, chest heaving. Slowly, he looked up at her door. Adrian, she called softly. He closed his eyes, then spoke, voice exactly as she remembered. Lily, sunshine. She opened the door. He didn't step inside. He couldn't. Instead, they stood inches apart, the threshold between them glowing with unsaid things. They know about you now, he said. About us. Her throat tightened. There is no us. That's the lie, he said quietly. And it's the one that will destroy me. She reached out, stopping just short of touching him. Then don't lie. The night held its breath around them. Somewhere far beyond Willow Creek, the covenant stirred. And for the first time, Lily understood that loving a king meant standing in the path of a war she had never asked for, but might choose anyway. The danger didn't announce itself with violence. It arrived with paperwork, whispers, and the kind of polite cruelty that wore a smile. 2 nights after the attack outside Lily's apartment, Adrian stopped coming to the library. At first, she told herself it meant nothing. He had always moved carefully, appearing and disappearing like weather. But by the 3rd day, the absence settled heavy in her chest. The chairs he usually chose remained empty. The air felt thinner, colder, as if the building itself noticed. She was reshelving returns when Mrs. Holloway leaned over the counter and lowered her voice. You look pale, dear. Everything all right? Lily forced a smile. Just tired. It wasn't a lie. Fear was exhausting. That evening, as she locked up, a black sedan waited across the street. Too sleek for Willow Creek. The man who stepped out wore an impeccable coat and an expression carved from judgment. Lily Carter, he said, you've been difficult to reach. Her spine stiffened. Do I know you? No, he replied. And if I do my job correctly, you never will again. He introduced himself as Mr. Rowan, a representative of a private historical society. His eyes flicked to the library sign, then back to her. You've been associating with someone dangerous. Her pulse roared. That's none of your business. He smiled thinly. It is now. Across town, in a place Lily had never seen, Adrian knelt. The Covenant Chamber was carved in a stone older than the country above it, lit by cold fire that cast no warmth. The elders watched from their seats, faces ageless and merciless. You broke the law, one intoned. You revealed yourself. You formed an attachment. I protected a human from an unauthorized operative, Adrian said evenly. That is not a crime. The crime, another elder said, is that you hesitated to deny her. Silence fell, heavy as chains. You will sever contact, the first elder decreed. Immediately, you will return to your duties. If you fail, she will be removed. Something feral stirred in Adrian's chest. Touch her, he said softly, and the Covenant will learn what happens when it forgets who wears the crown. Back in Willow Creek, Mr. Rowan's smile vanished. This town survives because it's small, he told Lily. Because no one notices it. No one asks questions. Don't be the reason that changes. Are you threatening me? She asked, voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. I'm offering clarity, he replied. Walk away, or lose everything. He left her standing under the streetlight, shaking with rage and fear. She didn't cry. She went home, opened the forbidden journals she had once cataloged without believing, and started reading with intent. If an ancient system thought it could decide who deserved love, she would not comply quietly. The next night, Jameson appeared again. Too coincidental, too smug. He leaned against her car outside the grocery store. You look stressed, he said. Bad choices catching up? She saw it then. The alignment. Men who thrived on control always recognized one another. People like you, she said, meeting his gaze, confuse power with worth. He laughed. Careful, you'll end up alone. Better alone than owned, she replied, walking past him. If you've ever wanted to see men like Jameson and systems like the Covenant lose their grip, stand with her. Silence is how they win. That night, Adrian came to her balcony, not crossing the threshold, eyes dark with urgency. They're watching, he said. You're in danger. So are you, she answered. And I'm done pretending this is only your fight. For a long moment, the world balanced on a knife's edge. Then Adrian nodded once, respect, and something deeper shining through. Then we end this, he said, together. Above them, clouds parted, moonlight spilling like a promise. The war had chosen its sides, and Willow Creek, quiet and unassuming, was about to become the place where an ancient rule would finally break. The Covenant moved just before dawn, because dawn was when humans were weakest and vampires felt most certain of their superiority. Willow Creek slept under a veil of fog, the kind that softened streetlights and swallowed sound. Lily stood at her apartment window, fingers curled around the edge of the curtain, watching shadows gather where shadows had no business gathering. She had never thought of herself as brave. Courage, she believed, belonged to louder people, people who didn't flinch when the world pushed back. Yet here she was, heart pounding, spine straight, choosing to stay. Behind her, Adrian paced like a caged storm. They will come for you first, he said quietly. Not because you're weak, because you're leverage. She turned to him. Then stop treating me like something they can take. He stilled. For a long moment. The Vampire King looked less like a ruler and more like a man standing on the edge of loss. If I fail you, you won't, she said, stepping closer. But if you try to protect me by erasing yourself from my life, you already have. Outside, a car door closed. Too deliberate. Too controlled. They're here, Adrian said. The knock came moments later, calm, official, inevitable. Lily walked to the door before Adrian could stop her. She didn't invite anyone in. She simply opened it and stepped onto the threshold, claiming the space between worlds. Mr. Rowan stood there with two others, their eyes reflecting moonlight in a way no human should. Miss Carter, he said pleasantly, you've made a choice. Yes, she replied. I have. Adrian moved beside her, power radiating now, no longer restrained. This ends tonight. Rowan's smile thinned. Kings do not choose mortals over law. Then your law is obsolete, Adrian said. What followed was not the battle Lily had imagined from books. There were no explosions, no screams. There was pressure, ancient, crushing, bearing down like the weight of history itself. The elders appeared not in bodies but in will, the air thick with command. Adrian staggered, teeth gritted, holding the line alone. No, Lily said, stepping forward as the pressure turned toward him. You don't get to do this without me. Rowan laughed softly. You think love makes you equal here? I think, Lily said, voice shaking but unbroken, that systems built on fear only survive when people obey them. She reached in her coat and pulled out the journals. Not copies, originals. The proof the Covenant had buried, records of kings who had loved, protected, and changed the world alongside humans. Of laws rewritten after rebellion, not before. You erased them, she said, but you didn't destroy the truth. The pressure wavered. Adrian felt it, felt the Covenant's certainty crack. He straightened, eyes blazing. I am your king, he said, voice carrying through stone and shadow. And I invoke the oldest right. Challenge. Silence. Then, grudgingly acceptance. The challenge was not physical. It was reckoning. Memory against memory. Power measured not in domination, but in devotion. Adrian opened himself fully, showing them everything. The centuries of restraint, the endless loneliness, the moment a human woman laughed and made immortality feel small. Lily felt the shift as the fog lifted, as if the town itself exhaled. The elders withdrew. Rowan stared, stunned, his authority dissolving like mist. This isn't over, he said weakly. For you. Adrian replied. It is. When the night finally released them, the sun was rising. Adrian stood on the balcony, light brushing his skin without burning. He looked at his hands, then at Lily, wonder softening every sharp edge. They changed the law, he said. Conditional integration. Choice. She smiled through tears. You sound surprised. I am, he admitted. I didn't know the world could bend. It does, she said, when someone refuses to. He stepped closer, no threshold between them now. The fake night, he said softly. It was supposed to end. She lifted her chin. It did. And this, he asked. This, she said, taking his hand, is real. He kissed her then, not like a king claiming victory, but like a man choosing a life. Willow Creek woke around them, unaware it had just witnessed history shift. Later, in the quiet of the library, Adrian watched Lily reshelve books, warmth filling a place in him that had been empty for 1,000 years. He would still rule. She would still choose. And together, they would build something neither world had dared imagine. One night had been enough to change everything. And this time, the dawn didn't take him away. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. It really means a lot that you spent some time here with me today. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, drop a comment, or share it with someone who might enjoy it too. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. I love hearing from you. So let me know your thoughts, questions, or just say hi in the comments. Thanks again. You're the reason I do this, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Good, because silence is exactly what people like Rowan, Jameson, and systems like the Covenant depend on. Let's be clear, nothing in this story survives without people looking away. Control doesn't win because it's strong. It wins because too many people decide it's not worth the fight. Rowan didn't need claws or fangs to be dangerous. He needed rules, paperwork, and the confidence that no one would challenge him. Jameson didn't need power. He needed Lily to doubt herself. That's how toxic systems and toxic people always work. They don't attack first, they normalize. So if you felt anger reading this, good. That means you're not on their side. If you believe no institution, tradition, or old rule should decide who gets to love, who gets protected, or who gets erased, then hit like. People who profit from control hate visible support. If you've ever dealt with someone like Jameson, someone who belittles, manipulates, or waits for you to fail so they can feel bigger, comment something like, I choose self-respect, or love isn't a weakness. Let them know they don't get the last word. And here's the important part. If you stand against unfair systems, emotional control, and power built on fear, subscribe. Seriously, because the only people who won't are the ones who benefit from silence, manipulation, and keeping others small. Stories like this exist because real people push back, because someone, somewhere, refuses to bow to rules that were never just. Because love, real love, has always been the thing tyrants fear most. So don't scroll away like the Covenant hopes you will. Don't stay quiet like Jameson expects. Take a side, make noise, and prove you're not standing with the villains. Good, because silence is exactly what people like Rowan, Jameson, and systems like the Covenant depend on. Let's be clear, nothing in this story survives without people looking away. Control doesn't win because it's strong. It wins because too many people decide it's not worth the fight. Rowan didn't need claws or fangs to be dangerous. He needed rules, paperwork, and the confidence that no one would challenge him. Jameson didn't need power. He needed Lily to doubt herself. That's how toxic systems and toxic people always work. They don't attack first, they normalize. So if you felt anger reading this, good. That means you're not on their side. If you believe no institution, tradition, or old rule should decide who gets to love, who gets protected, or who gets erased, then hit like. People who profit from control hate visible support. If you've ever dealt with someone like Jameson, someone who belittles, manipulates, or waits for you to fail so they can feel bigger, comment something like, I choose self-respect, or love isn't a weakness. Let them know they don't get the last word. And here's the important part. If you stand against unfair systems, emotional control, and power built on fear, subscribe. Seriously, because the only people who won't are the ones who benefit from silence, manipulation, and keeping others small. Stories like this exist because real people push back, because someone, somewhere, refuses to bow to rules that were never just. Because love, real love, has always been the thing tyrants fear most. So don't scroll away like the Covenant hopes you will. Don't stay quiet like Jameson expects. Take a side, make noise, and prove you're not standing with the villains.